Now it's time to master selections in Photoshop. Together with layers is definitely one of the most important things you ever gonna do. Pretty much every single project you're gonna work on, you're gonna have to use selections, okay? So let's start, buckle up, sit tight, and let's go. The first thing you gotta know is that our selection tools, they're pretty much all grouped over here. So we have on the toolbar here on the left side, if you hold and click on it, you can see a few of the tools. So we have the rectangle marquee tool, the elliptical marquee tool, and the single row and single column. We're not gonna use these two. We're just gonna use these two here, rectangle and elliptical. Then you're gonna go for the lasso and have the selection brush tool, lasso tool, polygonal tool, and polygonal lasso tool and magnetic lasso tool. And after that, we also have the object selection tool, quick selection tool, and magic wand tool. So we're gonna cover all of that, and maybe I'll have to do another video to go for another types of selection and other stuff, because there is a lot of ways to select something and to refine your selection, okay? So let's start with the most basic one of all of them. Once you select any kind of selection tool, you can see here on the option bar, we have the select subject. And if you click select subject, Photoshop will automatically get the most prominent image and it's gonna select it for you. So I just clicked on it and I'm waiting a little bit. It's doing its magic and it's done. There we go. Now I have the car selected over here and I'm gonna zoom in. To zoom in, I like to use the control and backspace and I can click and drag to the right and it's gonna zoom in, and control and backspace and zoom and drag to your left is gonna zoom out. So aim to the right, left to zoom out, and it's simple like that, okay? So now I have my car pretty much very well selected, but you can see that there is still a little things that doesn't look very good. So like on the side here. So let's start working with the most adequate tool to select this part or a few of them. Uh, let's get the lasso, and I'm gonna use the simple lasso tool. And there is one thing I want you to remember. That is a saying from the Navy SEALs in the United States. It is, how do you eat an elephant? The answer for this question is what's gonna make your selections a lot better. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So most people are gonna try to come here and try to select this portion of the image all the way down here. It's gonna make it a lot harder, okay? So we're not gonna do that. We're gonna take pieces by pieces and it's gonna make it a lot easier. So one thing that you're gonna notice that I already have my selection here. I have the marching ants here, these little black and white lines. These are called the marching ants. So if I have any selection tool and I put my mouse over it and I just click and drag, I'm gonna move my entire selection and I don't wanna do that. So I'm gonna Control Z and undo it and I'm gonna zoom in again. If you wanna add to any selection in Photoshop with any selection tool, all you gotta do is hold the Shift key and then it's gonna show this little plus sign beside the tool. And if you want to remove any part of the selection, you just hold Alt and it's going to show the little minus sign, okay? So I'm going to hold Shift here and I'm going to click and drag just a little bit of that selection and I'm going to wrap it all around the part that is already selected and I'm going to release the button and it's going to automatically close this selection. And I'm going to do the same thing over here again and over here again. So as you can see, I'm not trying to make it perfect on every single time I try to drag over it. I'm just literally taking it pieces by pieces, bite by bite. That's how it's gonna work, okay? That's gonna make it a lot easier. So I'm gonna check here all my edges to see what I can do. So this portion over here, I'm gonna go a little bit over and again, release the button. And then I'm gonna keep doing the same thing over and over again in every single part that I see that it deserves a better selection. See? Little pieces. Zoom in. Oops, I'm missing this part. Zoom in, hold Shift, add to your selection. Okay? So I'm gonna keep doing it to make the selection as good as I can. So let's say that's good enough. And I want to just select this little bit of portion over here and accidentally I select more than I wanted. Remember what I told you? Hold Alt and then you click and drag and now you're going to drag outside of the selection and you release the button and it's going to be selected over there. okay? Actually unselected. That's how you want to do. Okay, that's pretty simple. That's probably one of the easiest way to add and remove things from your selection. So with that selected, all I'm gonna do now is press Ctrl J, because with Ctrl J, I can simply duplicate my selection, and it's gonna take the content of the selected layer and it's gonna duplicate just this part. But beside that, before that actually, that is the antenna over here, and I don't have my antenna selected. What is the best way to select this antenna? Probably not the lasso tool, right? Because I'm gonna keep dragging and dragging. It's too organic, and the selection is gonna be a mess. So for that kind of situation, we have here the polygonal lasso tool. So I'm gonna keep holding shift so I can add a selection, but just to be clear, the polygonal lasso tool, it only selects in straight lines. So I'm gonna hold shift and I'm gonna click down here, and I'm not dragging anything, and you can see that there is still a line. See my hand here? I'm not pressing the button. The line is still there. So I'm gonna go there, I'm gonna click on it, and now I have this little part selected. See, that's why it's called polygonal. Now I'm gonna click on this other portion and this other portion. And now I can just double click anywhere and it's gonna add it to my selection. Pretty simple, right? So now I'm gonna zoom out. That's good enough for now. You probably noticed, or if you don't, I'm gonna show you right now. We have right here, that part is selected, okay, that part inside the truck selected, but also the white portion over here, and you're going to use another tool to remove it. When you're working with selections in Photoshop, you want to use as many tools and resources you can to make the best selection, and you're going to use all of them to select this image, or almost all of them, all the ones that suit. So just to refine that selection over here, I'm going to keep using the polygonal lasso tool, and I'm going to keep selecting this portion over here. I'm still holding shift, simple like that. Click, 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 double click to close the selection, click, 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 double click to close the selection. And for now, that's good enough. That's all I want to do right now. Now with my layer selected, I'm going to press Ctrl J and duplicate the selection. And now I can remove the visualization of the background layer, and I can see that I have just my car over there. But as I pointed out before, inside here, that part is not selected. And it's going to be a lot harder to select that with the polygonal lasso tool or just the lasso tool. So for that, we're going to go here to my magic wand. Okay, you can see that all of these tools have the same shortcut, which is W. So how do you cycle through them? And that's going to work for every single tool in Photoshop. If they have the same shortcut, you're going to hold shift and you're going to press the same shortcut. So here again, you can see that it's swapping, okay? It's changing the selection tool. I'm not clicking anything, I'm just pressing shift and W, and I'm selecting different tools. Now I have my magic wand. And remember what I told you? If you want to add to the selection, you hold shift. If you want to remove from the selection, you hold alt. So I'm going to hold alt over here. And I want you to pay attention on a few things over here just before I refine that selection. I have the option sample all layers selected. I don't need that. I'm going to deselect that. And we're going to talk about it in a while. And I have the contiguous. The contiguous is a very important stuff that you need to know. And you also have the tolerance, and I'm going to talk about that just in a few seconds, okay? So I'm going to mark the contiguous here, and I'm going to hold Alt, and I'm going to click on it, okay? So you can see that I selected just this portion. And then, oops, actually, I don't have to hold Alt for that because I have no selection anymore. So since I selected this part, I'm just going to hold Shift, and I'm going to keep clicking on every white part that I want to remove. So this part, this over here, it's simple like that. You just click on it, okay? Super simple. There we go. And then I can simply hit delete, and then it's going to remove that selection. Now I have the selection here. I'm going to press Ctrl D to deselect, and then I'm going to zoom in, click over here, delete, zoom out, and I'm going to keep looking for it. Oops, here we have again. So click over here, shift, click on the other portion, and everything that is white over here, I want to remove. I don't want to see any of these, okay? So I'm gonna keep clicking it, and as you can see, it's super, super simple. Now hit delete. There we go. My selection is done. You're probably not gonna get much better than that in an easier way. There is a way to have an even better selection, but it's a very manual one, and it's gonna take forever to do it. And we're gonna cover it in another video, a completely separate video, because you're gonna have to use another tool for that, okay? So now I have my car selected here, and I'm going to create a new layer. So I'm going to come down here in the layers panel. I have this little button here. So this is going to create a new fill or adjustment layer. I'm going to click on it, go to solid color, and I can choose any color I want. Oops, actually, it was an accident, but it's nice to mention it. Once I have my selection at some point and I click on these two, it's going to create a layer and it's going to keep that part selected. I don't want that, okay? That was just a mistake. So you can see it is selected. I'm going to hit Ctrl D to deselect it, and I'm going to do the process again. So click this button, solid color, and now I have a solid color over there. You can choose any color you want. I'm just going to get some kind of orange maybe, and I'm going to drag this layer under my car. Nice. Why am I doing this? For one simple reason. I want to zoom in and check the edges of my selection to see if there is something that I could do better. Well, as you can probably see, there is a lot of things I could do better, but so far I'm happy. I don't want to refine this selection too much right now because we have a lot to cover, and you already understood how you're going to refine your selection just using these simple tools, okay? I told you that we would talk about the tolerance and the contiguous before. So I'm gonna keep my layer selected here. And the magic wand, it works in a very simple way. It's gonna select the same color up to a tolerance of 20 tones. It's a little different the way it works. So if I select this little green over here, I have my contiguous tool selected. Let me click on this green over here. It's going to select all the pixels that are 20 tones darker or lighter than the pixel I selected. So if I keep holding shift and clicking on it, I can make a very tedious selection that's gonna take forever, and I don't want to do that, okay? So I'm gonna hit Ctrl D. So just to illustrate, I'm gonna click on this portion, and I want you to notice the portion that was selected of that image is selected just the green. Now I'm gonna go up here to tolerance, and I'm gonna have my tolerance up to 80. Now I'm gonna deselect, and I'm gonna click on it again. So I'm gonna click on it, and it selects a little bit. Oops, I forgot to do it, sorry. So finish that, hit enter. I'm going to deselect and do it again. So it's going to select a little bit more. So the range of colors it is selecting is a lot more than before. And you can hold shift and keep selecting it the same way, okay? So you're going to keep adding the colors to your selection. And as you can see, it's still taking a little bit too long, right? So I'm gonna hit Ctrl D again because I want to deselect that. And now we're gonna hit the contiguous button. So we're gonna uncheck that. And I'm gonna press the button. So you do realize right now that it's selected a lot more of the green, okay? Because the contiguous, when it's selected, it only means that it's gonna select the colors that are close to the point you clicked. So if you hit the contiguous and you deselect it and you uncheck it, it's gonna select all the green around the image. It doesn't matter where it is. So I clicked over here, right? I clicked over here and it is selecting this portion of the image as well. So I can keep shift clicking it, but you're gonna soon realize that you're gonna make a mess out of my selection, okay? That means the magic wand is not the right tool for this job. We can use a better tool for that. So I'm gonna deselect it, and there are another tool that could do a lot better job. So I'm gonna go over here and I'm gonna select the quick selection tool. So just click on it, and if you just click and drag, it's gonna try to find the edges with the most contrast on the image, and then it's gonna select it. So if you just have a little bit of patience, you can just simply click and drag and let Photoshop do its magic, okay? So it does a pretty good job. So now I'm gonna hold Alt and remove this portion because I don't want this portion. And I'm gonna try to paint just over here on the white edge, and I'm gonna wait. As soon as I release, Photoshop refines the selection by itself, so it does a pretty good job, okay? I'm gonna add a little bit more of that, and a little bit more on the edge here. And this portion is kind of green, so I'm gonna select this as well, and I'm gonna remove the dark portion. Here it's dark enough, so it's not gonna make much of a difference. So right now, oops, the rear view mirror. Nice. So now I'm just gonna add a color to the car. So I'm gonna create a new fill adjustment layer and come here to solid color. I'm gonna choose any other color. It could be blue, could be baby blue. Okay. And then I'm gonna change the blend mode that we learned on the last video. So hard light does a good job, and linear light also does a good job. Okay. And as you can see, the selection over here is not very good. I passed through the car, so I don't want to do that. All I'm going to do to fix it, instead of selecting it, I'm just going to click on this layer and hold Ctrl Alt and press G. And now it's going to clip mask this selection to the car. That portion over here is not very nice, so I'm just going to come here to my layer. I'm going to click on it. And now I'm gonna paint it white. Oops, sorry, I'm gonna paint it black, and it's gonna remove the color. It's still a little bit green, right? It's probably bothering you as much as it's bothering me. So what I'm gonna do is just get the brush tool, and I'm gonna select white over here. And down and up here in the option bar, I'm gonna reduce the opacity a little bit, and I'm gonna paint over it to see if it gets a better color. And I'm gonna zoom out. Still too bright. I could use the black again and paint over it again to try to reduce a little bit of this color. I'm gonna increase the opacity. 70 is too high. Let's place 5. Too high. 4. 4 does a good job, so that's gonna be 40% opacity. And it's gonna doing what I want it to do. So now I change my car color, okay? So these are the main tools you're gonna use in Photoshop to select pretty much everything you want. But there are two other tools that I want to show you that also works for selection in some kind of special shaped objects. So we're gonna use now in this new file over here, we're gonna use another selection tool. So instead of using the quick selection, which would do a good job to be fair, we can use the elliptical marquee tool. So if I click and drag, I can make a selection over it. But as you can see, it's terrible to use it, right? But you can use the hotkeys. The hotkeys are amazing. If you hold space, for example, you can drag your selection, and then you can place the edges of your selection where you want to go, and you can adjust it. And it's going to make a very good selection, okay? You just have to have a little bit of control over it. And now my ball is selected. I'm going to hit Ctrl J, and then I have the ball selected here. It's pretty simple, right? Let's say that ball now is like this. How would you select it? Okay, it's very simple actually. You're gonna use the same tool. Let's pretend that, let's create a background here. I'm gonna get pretty much the same color of the background. I'm gonna paint it, and I'm gonna merge these layers. So now, merging the layers with Ctrl E, I told you about that in the layers video. So I'm gonna select the elliptical marquee tool again, and I'm gonna click and drag. And I'm gonna align the top portion of the image and the bottom portion of the image, okay? And since I aligned the bottom and the upper portion of the image, I can come here and click with the right button and transform selection. And if I hold Shift, I can drag my selection to the side, and it's gonna allow me to have some kind of elliptical selection, kind of oval, not rounded. And then I hit enter and I can Ctrl J again. And now I have my ball selected. Okay, so you can transform your selections. This is not going to be the best example for this tool, but I'm going to show you anyway. Rectangle Marquee tool, if you click here and drag, you can also do the spacebar and drag your selection. And all the selection tools, the rectangle and the elliptical marquee tool, you can hold shift and you're going to make a perfect square or a perfect circle if it's the elliptical marquee tool. You can hold alt and it's going to increase or decrease, it's going to scale it from the center of the selection. You can hold alt and shift and it's going to make a perfect square scaled from the center of the selection. Okay, and you can also hold spacebar in the middle of it so you can move it. And you can change your finger all the time to do the selection any way you want, okay? And just to show you, if you right click and go to transform selection, that happens also with the elliptical marquee tool. This is my selection. If I click Control here and I drag it, I can skew my selection. So now it's changing shapes. And if I get here to the edge, I can literally completely change the shape, the placement of the edges of my selection, okay? As I said, this is not the best option for this image. I just wanted to show you these controls so you can know how to use it, okay? So it's pretty simple. This is the basics of selection. So not just the basics, has more than that, okay? But if I extend too much, that video is gonna take 1 hour. So we're gonna need another video about selection to make sure you're gonna master selections in Photoshop. So if you like this video, smash the like button, hit subscribe, and I see you in the next video. See ya!